All right, kids, welcome back. Working on little pig today. We're gonna work with the 4-inch Skinner. I'm gonna see how it does with pigs. You are technically in the shop at the moment because it is on and off raining, and I don't want to deal with my phone getting wet. So much like the post office, I kill shit rain or shine. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy in the cooler. I'm gonna try and pull you in if the rain holds off for some of the closer incision cuts that I haven't been able to show. Um, so we're just going to get right into it. So let's go ahead and have some fun. All right. So we're going to start like we start with everything. Take these feet off. Again, running the 4-inch Skinner. I'm going to see how it does on this. Again, I really liked it. Working on those goats. And I already really like it working on this pig. Go ahead and toss that. Again, when you're looking at taking these off, you can see here's the tendon and here's the joint. You want to be, let's get that in frame, right here above this joint. You're going to make a cut, go all the way around, and you'll see the bone right there. Open it up, snap it, good to go. Again, you want to be really careful taking off those back legs because you don't want to cut too far down because you'll end up losing the tendon. I'll pop those off. Again, so with the front legs, you can see where it bends. You can bend it and put your finger where you can feel the tendon. When you bring it back, you can see right here, right under the trotter right there, is where you want to make your cut. Cut through that tendon. We'll go around, loosen the rest of it. And that's all she wrote on the trotters. So, rinse off real quick. All right. Now we'll pull out our straight blade, make these first incision cuts. Once again, starting at the back leg. And we'll go all the way down to the bung with it. Again, I don't have to worry about udders or anything on this, so I will, like I said, get the cut all the way down to the bung. I do it a little different on beef just because I'm dealing with udders, but with pigs, especially male pigs, not going to have to worry about it. All right. And like I said on the last goat video, I have moved to not making incision cuts on the foreshanks just because I do like how that turns out a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead, move you up a little bit more, and we'll start this. I always like to start right here at this seam. Oh, yeah. Well, I said it was good for goats. It'll be good for deer. And I'm telling you right now, it's good for pigs. I like this a lot. Again, you have a lot more control over the knife than you would with a bigger blade. And where, as you can see, there's this thin layer of fat that connects the meat to the hide, which you don't have with beef. It is a little looser. and you're able to do a lot more pulling than you are with pork. There's the bullet. Looky there. That's what I really like about these 45 long Colts. Especially, I use the Cowboy Action ammo, which again is just black powder, full lead bullet. That it's got enough power to get the job done, and I know it's going to do the job. But a lot of the time, depending on the size of the pigs, won't even actually leave the pig. Same with beef. Usually, it ends up right at the base of the skull or never leaves the skull. All right. And again, when you're doing this, you're trying to keep as much fat on the animal as possible. All right, went ahead and moved you back again just because we are getting a little more rain. So again, coming on these back legs, what I like to do, pinch right here, right behind the Achilles, and just you're going to slowly work your blade around that tendon. Again, you don't want to nick it because that's what you're going to be hanging it in the cooler off of. And then once you have that, you can just work yourself around. I can already tell I do have a little blood spotting in these hams. This was for a friend of mine up the road. And when we took the shot was good. But if you've ever put down a pig, you know they do a fun thing where they bounce around like a fish on a dock. And we did get it bled fairly quick, but it definitely had a couple 10-15 seconds to flop around just because in the time it took me to get the knife and get it stopped so I could get a blade into it. Like I said, it probably had a good 15-20 seconds to kind of flop around a little bit, and that happens sometimes. And it's not going to change the flavor of the meat at all. There is just, like I said, a little bit of discoloration. Cut into that a little bit. That's all right. On some of these smaller hogs, it is a little difficult just because the hide is so thin. But again, I'm really, really, really liking the skin knife. All right. We're going to work around this front leg. I'm not going to time-lapse this one just so I can kind of talk through what I'm doing. We'll hone up a little bit more. And as you can also see, I did leave the penis intact for right now. I like to skin that out after I get everything skinned out while I'm bunging everything. Just because every now and then you'll cut that and then all of a sudden you got piss leaking and it's a mess and it is what it is. It's just easier to skin around it and deal with it in a minute. All right, skin out around the head, loosen everything up. And you're just going to start working this off And you're going to get to the point where you're coming around the elbow. Skin around that, make it a little more pronounced. And now you're on the main part of the shank. Now what I like to do, roll this section back over a little bit with my knife in there and cut from the inside. What you're doing with that is you're not actually cutting any of the hair. So none of that hair is getting on the meat. You're cutting from the inside and it pushes all the hair back out. So it just leaves you a much cleaner product, especially if you don't end up with a whole bunch of holes like this. I promise I've done this before. So a little bit of pressure, and you can skin that right down. All right, so that's opened up, and we will go ahead. I'm going to split this sternum. You'll be able to feel again where the end of the sternum is, so that way you're not cutting into the guts. Usually stops right about here. We'll cut down this way, and customer does not want the tongue, so we're going to go ahead, pull that out, and get the esophagus loose so we can pull that out and get that ready for gutting. That bullet hole makes a very convenient hold on the tongue. All right. Now, I don't usually zip tie the esophagus on pigs like I would on the beef. With the beef having a 4-chambered stomach, there's a lot more liquid that's involved in that. And as soon as gravity sets in and you get that hind end up to the air, you're dealing with a ton of fluid, stomach acid, everything pouring out of the esophagus. With pigs, that is not as much of a concern, just because they do have the one stomach. And like I said, it's just doesn't happen as much. I've had it happen a couple times, but not enough that I go out of my way to do that. All right. All right. So that is opened up all the way through. Go ahead, put that there for a moment, and we'll finish opening this up. Again, all of this part is just prep to make gutting a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead, move that outlet. We'll pop this down. I don't pull this off yet. Again, you can see all that fat, not great fat. So we're just going to pull this whole section off. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. We'll get this guy hooked up, and we'll see you in a second. All right, so we're going to go at this. And of course, I forgot what I was doing before I talked, so here we go. I'm off camera again, but I'm still talking, and I got a microphone. Yay! Okay, so we did spray this guy down. He's pretty clean down here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is do the same thing that we do with beef. Get it up a little bit. Makes these hams a little bit easier to skin out. Skin around the bung. Let's get you angled better so you can actually see what I'm doing. All right. And we're just going to work all of this down. Yeah, guys, I freaking love this knife. This is going to be part of my collection for a while. I might actually end up buying one or two more because I like them so much. All right, we're going to cut right through that bung. And get that bung. We got something popping out, so we're going to do our best. We're going to go get a paper towel, and we're going to take care of that. And we want to be as clean as possible, obviously, because, again, this is someone's meat. If we do get some feces on something, we can trim it off. But I'm going to go ahead, plug that real quick. It is always a good idea if you are raising pigs to process, if you're processing them yourself, if you're going to a butcher, do not feed your pigs for a day or two before processing. This gives you two things. One, means they don't have something on deck for this process. And two, when it comes to the kill, they are going to be very hungry and very food motivated. Now, pigs in general are food motivated as is, but this it's super helpful when you're slaughtering pigs, because that's the thing, they are very friendly, and most of them, and they want to come up and say hi and do all these fun things. But if they're super hungry, they're going to be focused on getting that food, and they're not going to be paying attention to the gun barrel that's getting closer and closer to their forehead. So we're going to go ahead, cut that H bone. Now again, I've pushed this back down. Only you're not using the whole blade until you're splitting the animal. When you're splitting the sternum and you're splitting the H bone, you're using this much of the blade because that's how much you want to control to be able to make sure you're not cutting anything. So, again, doing my best not to cut anything that's going to make a mess. All right, we're through. So, we will go ahead and move you right here for a second. And what we're going to do is make our incision cuts. So when it's at this angle, there's not a ton of pressure on the belly, which is nice. And again, I'm going to take my knife, put my finger over the tip, and work my way through the inside, pulling up on the belly, so I'm not slicing any intestines or stomach contents, because that makes a big old mess. All right. While I'm in here, split that diaphragm so everything comes out nice and easy. Make sure we finish splitting that. Pull this bung the rest of the way out. All right, so now everything is all loosey-goosey in here. So I'm going to go ahead and prep that right there. I'm going to go ahead and pop you back and try not to do any more damage to my garage than I already have today. Always be aware where your bucket is, folks. All right, we're up. So that being said, of always knowing where your bucket is, I, once again, am familiar with the fact that it is wildly unsafe to be working under the bucket. So that is why I take this beef cradle, toss it underneath. It might not completely hold the bucket, but you know what? It'll hopefully give me a couple seconds to figure some shit out if stuff goes wrong. All right. So, like I said, everything now in here is loose. That is the bladder. Holy crap. We definitely don't want that to pop, because that's going to stink. And we're just going to move down, loosening everything as we go. All right. I'm going to pop this diaphragm open. And like I said, we've already gone through, loosen the esophagus. So all that slides right out. And now, what you're left with is a nice, clean carcass. We'll spray all that out at the end. It's got a decent belly on it. So, now we're left with the back here. What I like to do, finish working out these sides. Again, we're going to try and keep as much fat on the animal as we can. All right, so when you get down past the sirloin here, things get a little easy. What you want to do is, again, I've said it a handful of times now, I'm going to say it again, you want to make sure that there is as much skin or as much fat left on the animal as you can, especially once you get to this point, because if I've done all my prep correctly, I should be able to do a pull on this. Now, what I like to do is split this in two halves. So we'll do this, rinse that off, and we'll come in here. Now, it's all right if you dig into the fat a little bit on this, because you're going to be splitting the animal anyway. All right. So we'll start this pull on this side. Again, making sure and we'll continue this the rest of the way down. All the way to the head. Sometimes helps to get a good handhold. All right, now we'll pull this side. All right. Again, there was not a ton of back fat on this animal to begin with, so we're trying to keep as much on as we can. Again, make sure your hands are clean. Dealing with pigs, they're muddy, they're shitty. It's part of the job, but want to make sure the meat stays as clean as possible. And just continue working your way down towards the head. course that's not framed right. Here we go. Okay. Work around. I already got the ear pulled out. Work around the eyes. Now, once again, you want to make sure you do not touch the teeth. Pig teeth might be the hardest goddamn thing known to man, and it will dull your knife faster than anything on the planet. Swear to God, you touch one piece of a tooth to your knife, and it's all over. Your knife's garbage for the rest of the day. Oh, that's fun. So, again, just be very careful of that. Around the head is where your boner knife comes into play quite a bit. Just makes life a little bit easier. A little chunk of fat skin up here will pop off. Do that. And we'll work this other side of the head. All right. So now you've got a gutted, skun out pig. And she is all set. Or he, I apologize. There I go again, misgendering. So, we got a fully skun out pig, fully gutted. I've said it before, but we'll say it again because, again, YouTube. You can see right here from where we pulled, there's a little bit of just gunk, mud, or whatever it is. It is cleaner and safer to cut it off than it is to spray it off. When you spray it off, there is no guarantee that it is going to actually get off the animal, and there is a 100% guarantee it is going to roll its way down the entire rest of the animal, contaminating whatever else it touches. So we're going to go ahead, pop that off. And there we go. So this one's a little janky. Again, this was a bit of a smaller pig. But as you can see, on the pull method, we kind of screwed it up, having to go and clean a little bit more there, but that is life. You can see how clean that pull is. So that way, if you had an animal that had a little bit more fat on it, it would be a lot more pronounced. And you'd just end up with a much nicer product. So we're gonna, there are a couple sections over here where I'll show you right now. If you get really close to the skin when you're skinning, that's just a little bit residual skin left over. So it gives it a little bit of discoloration. It's not awful. I just like to trim it off. So, and that is all she wrote, folks. That's another pig skinning video. I'm going to go ahead and split it and get it in the cooler. But I wanted to put out some content this week and show off this knife again. I really want to try it on pigs. I really like it. I think it's going to work really well on bigger animals, like bigger pigs with a little bit more fat on them. There's a little more wiggle room to work with. Again, this guy isn't bad. He's going to eat really well. He'll probably dress out to about, I'd say 110 hang weight, which is perfect. So we're going to go ahead and rinse him down, get him cut in half, get him in the cooler. This Friday, we will have Carlisle Armstrong from Armstrong Acres in Alton coming up. He's going to give me a hand castrating, and which will be fun. I'm going to try and videotape as much as I can of that and edit it for YouTube so I don't get a strike or whatever. And then after the fact, we are going to pre-record a podcast for Saturday. Carlisle is a wealth of information when it comes to Ossabaw Island hogs and Mangalitsa's, so I've been trying to get him on for a while. So we were going to have a good time with that, but I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a great day.